thinking, like, you posted a picture yesterday on Instagram, and I was like, damn, she looks like really good. Like, she looks young and like vibrant. Like she looks really good. And now that I'm seeing you, I'm like, you remind me of like college, like on the radio back in our day, you know, like when people actually really enjoyed to listen to good music and called in the stations. Like, you have that whole vibe going on.
I'll take it. You know, it's crazy. We haven't even started the show yet, but I'm just gonna say this. It's crazy how much outside sort of like feedback or perceptions can really feed your energy and glow. So yesterday in particular, about 3 people told me that I was glowing, and there was nothing particularly special about yesterday. I mean, it was a beautiful day outside. We're alive, we're healthy, like all that great stuff. But it was nothing particularly special. I didn't get any special news, you know, nobody special creeped into my DM or anything.
Yeah.
It was just one of those days. And 3 people told me some variation of I'm glowing or I look good or whatever. And it fed my spirit. Like, I was like, yeah. It's amazing. Like, and I wasn't not feeling good. It just took me up a notch. Just to have that. So that's the importance in the power of words. If you even want to go there, the power of words, the power of energy, the power of feeding each other. I have a young sister mentee, a professional mentee who I just texted yesterday, and I said, hey, I just want to remind you that you are talented, you're beautiful, that you're a force to be reckoned with, and you know, I will always be here to tell you that. And that kind of came from what I was experiencing from other people yesterday, was that it mattered.
That vibe.
Anyway, all right, we'll officially start now. Welcome to Live, Learn, and Exercise. It's your girl, Michaela, and I'm back for another great episode. I brought my girl, Lisa, back. She was in episode 2, and we loved it so much that we came back for round 2. So as we transition into our conversation, I want to pose a few questions to you. First, how are you creating a breeding ground, and what are you doing to create a breeding ground for the change that you want and the change that you're becoming? Secondly, are you leaning into your passions as you think about the next chapter or few chapters of your life? What's motivating that? What's hindering that? Lastly, where are there opportunities for you to pay your gifts and your blessings forward? We're going to talk about that and a lot more in this episode of Live, Learn, and Exercise. So grab a sip, maybe grab a notepad, definitely grab a partner, and let's do this. Passions and power. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Live, Learn, and Exercise. I'm back. I'm your girl, Michaela, and I have one of your favorite guests, Lisa, who's back for round 2 of Girl Talk. Say hi, Lisa.
Hey.
Hey, we can actually see Lisa this time thanks to a lot of things. But anyway, you look great. I can't wait to jump into all the things. We were just joking that we always do this. Of course, we're on for the setup and the prep, and we get into all the topics, and some of them we planned, some we didn't, but all the topics that we should be sharing with you all. So we had to reel it in, just being so excited to respectively sit in our glow and share that with each other. And something that we'll get into a little bit later is really feed off each other's energy and, draw from the power of others. So anyway, want to welcome you today. I don't doubt that we're going to get some nuggets from our conversation with Lisa, the same as we did. I believe weren't you episode 1? Or you're episode 2. You kicked off 2, but you're not number 2, girl. You know this, right? Anyway, so everyone grab a drink, get comfortable, and get ready for an amazing episode with Lisa and me. All right. So Lisa, what we talking about today?
What haven't we been talking about? I mean, so we were discussing a little bit just about like the glow that you've been having and like the photo that you posted on Instagram yesterday where you just said, I'm feeling good. And the thing is like, you don't even need to really know you to like look at the photo and just see like it's radiating, and then seeing you today on camera, I feel the same way. Like there's like an inner glow of happiness, which is great, you know, because I know you've had a really tough first part of your year, and you know, you came out on the other side, thank God. And you know, you're in school, you're kicking ass in school. You know, your boys, are your boys back in school?
Yeah, girl, 3
They're back
weeks.
already. Yeah.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
seems like everything, you know, like that was the challenge, and you know, the roadblock that you had to get through, you know, all of that has just contributed to a different type of swag.
Well, my friend, thank you. It's amazing that we live miles and states apart, and we often are on the same energy, or we kind of have this ESP about us, where we check in on days where the other person needed a check in,
Yeah.
or you have noticed emotions in me just from a picture. So
Yeah.
you said that you saw that in me yesterday, and I want to co-sign that I actually do feel like I have a glow up. But there have been times where you saw a picture of me
Oh,
online, and you were like, "Wait a minute,
yeah.
something's
I was
off."
just about to say, but in
Yeah,
contrast, there's been times in the past, within the last, you know, year and a half, that I've seen photos of you, and I'm like, something just doesn't seem right. And you know, I've reached out, and you know, truth be told, it wasn't.
yeah. So that, this is why I love you. And this is why we have the relationship that we do, because we don't have to speak every day on the phone. Neither of us have that type of
Yeah.
time, but I think we are innately just connected in a deep way. And so I want to thank you for sharing, kicking off the show and starting with that. I do feel like I have a glow. I don't, specifically know what the exact glow is. I just know that I feel good today. Things are just kind of moving in a great direction. And yes, the first, I would say, 2/3 of the year was challenging. And I'm not gonna lie and say there won't be challenges,
Yeah.
through the end of the year, but was uniquely challenging. And what I had to do is just kind of stay true to the plan, which
Yeah.
was what we talked about during our first interview, was like, get up, brush teeth, do your hair, go downstairs, walk around, like do the basics.
Yeah.
And uh, also what we talked about in the beginning of the show, which was really trying to draw from the strength and from the love and from the glow of others. And you
Yeah.
were one of those others for me. And uh, I woke up yesterday and I was like, yeah, this is a good day. It's beautiful outside. My boys are great. They're doing great in school. They are, most importantly, they are caring,
Yeah.
um, sensitive, in a good way, young men who
Yeah.
understand human suffering, and that are not so self-consumed with the
Yeah.
privileges and the blessings that they have received, to not understand the plight of others. And they were one of my strongest support systems through, the death of their grandfather and my father. So they're doing well. They're well adjusted. They are, great in all the ways. Work is good. I have an amazing work team who I have retained for a long time. And so we just kind of flow and move without even,
Yeah.
communicating. Sometimes we're just on the same page.
That's
Uh,
fantastic.
the weather was beautiful. I feel healthy. Damn, I lost like 6 pounds, good pounds,
That
in the
always helps.
last, yeah, in the last, month and a half. And so it was a good day. So I decided to share it. And so I thank you for seeing that, seeing me, and for bringing that to the table. What we talked about before we got into it was that when I heard that from various people yesterday, like they were like, you got to glow, or you look good. And when I heard that, it took me up a notch, because I wasn't really cognizant of what I was feeling yesterday. I was just enjoying the fact that there wasn't trauma.
Yeah.
Just going about life. And when again, 3 or 4 people like took the time to look me in my eye and tell me that, it made me say, oh, hell yeah, I'm good today.
Yeah.
And that's what made me post that. So thank you for sharing. And I have to say, I said this before, you look damn good too. I love the waves going on.
Thanks, girl.
It's like Miami waves today.
You know what? You know what's really funny? Like my mother-in-law is a very fancy woman. She always
Yep.
like looks so nice. Like when she goes out just to the grocery store,
Yep.
she's got like her nails done and she puts on a cute outfit. Like she's always looking fly.
Yep.
So a couple of weeks ago, I had my hair like this, and she was like, "Oh, that's such a good look for you." And I was like, "Okay, then." I figured today that I would rock it, knowing that she would approve and that she's like, fancy like that. She's a very fashionable woman.
Yes, well, she's right, and you do look good. And I always thought you had a certain swag, just a natural beauty to you. You don't have to
Thanks,
do much.
girl.
I think that's my thoughts. I get to have my
Thank
thoughts.
you.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, even though, you get to a certain age, you look in the mirror and like, this is crinkling and this isn't like quite as firm as it used to be. But you know what? I'll take it. I
Take
really
it.
will. Like, I am not even about to sit here and start with the constant, like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. I used to look like, you know what?
Right.
I'm gonna just like embrace my life right now. Feel so good. Like my life is great. Like there's so many other like trivial things to worry about that I'm not.
If we're lucky, we age.
Yes.
My dad used to tell my son's dad, if you're lucky, you'll get to my age, right? And if we're lucky, we age. I'll tell you the truth. I don't want to be younger. I don't want to be 25. I don't. I had great 20s and 30s. But the type of clarity and the type of balance that I have now, and the type of the new look of success, and the family and all of that. I'm sorry. I'm loving 44.
Yeah.
I'm loving my 40s. Yeah.
Yes. I was talking to one of my best friends the other day and she said something very similar, like, well, I certainly like it better here now than I did at 34. And I'm like, me too. It's really like, people can look at, the 40s and maybe you're younger and you see it as a certain, age and whatever. But it's like, you know what, if you're lucky, you'll be here one day.
Right.
And you'll realize that like that whole thing when people say like you start to really care less of like what the outside thinks of like your life and your choices, and you realize that you're free to live a little bit more like authentically. I was listening to this podcast and it was like, you get to a certain point in your life sometimes and you think to yourself, do I even know who I am to live as authentically as I need to? And like, I really feel like that's what the 40s has sort of been for me, that like, you think to yourself, something happens, you go to react and you're like, you know what, that's not even what I want to say. What I want to say, I really can't. But
filter.
I'm not gonna like, hide the true way that I want to react and respond, because this is who I am. And like the more you lean into that and do it, the easier it becomes to like be your true self.
Right. And we don't know that in our 20s. And this is no bias toward any 20-year-olds that could be watching this. I commonly talk to my kid self and my 20 self. And I know it's the natural course of things to be wiser. If you're living life right, you should be smarter at 40.
Yes.
You should be more balanced at 40. You should be more in touch with your authentic self. That's just the natural course of things, and you embrace it. I love 40. I love who I am emotionally and mentally at 40.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing. And I wish I had some of the tools and the understanding and the knowledge that I have right now, that I wish I had that back then. It might have saved me a divorce. Or it might have saved me some relationships, some big mistakes, and all of that. But such is the way of life. And the great part of it is that I can live to learn from those lessons. And I can put them into action, which I'm very much looking forward to. So I texted you probably maybe a week ago or so, and I was just like, hey, have I missed something? Did I not pay attention before? Or do you have more of an online presence now? Are you putting yourself out there more? You were like, nope, I am. So tell me a little bit about how things have changed since we last spoke, and what's new going on with you and the family.
Oh man. Okay. So the last time we talked, I said like going into, I'm calling this like time in my life, like phase 2, like what am I focusing on, like moving forward in my life, as a new mom, as a woman in my 40s, like, what am I doing? And one of the things that I want to focus on that we talked about before that I got from you was living life a little bit more with my blinders on, right? Like, and one of those things has been social. I spent my 30s and some of my 20s being like, so like, no, blah, 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 blah. And I think now in my life, it feels like I have so many things that I really want to share, whether that's photos of my family, whether that's, pictures of me working out, which is to show people what's going on, but also to inspire and say like, all that shit they told you about being a woman in your 40s and not being able to get in shape, not be in the best shape of your life, it's all a lie. I just want to showcase like how good I feel. And I want to showcase I don't know how to explain it. I really want to show people like the happiness that I'm feeling in my life right now, I feel like you said before, like you've made some decisions in your life. Like in my 30s, I wasn't exactly the person that I am now. I didn't feel as great about the decisions that I made and the things that I did maybe in my 30s that I feel now. So it's like, you're most qualified to give advice to the person that you used to be. Right. So I'm trying to like, through this new like social presence, trying to show people like, you're not tied to who you used to be. Like that for me took a long time to get over. My husband is very good about this. And we're going through that journey together about like, just because you were that way doesn't mean necessarily that has to be who you are going forward, right. I think sometimes, and I text Tabitha and told her too, like her podcast I loved. And the one thing that stuck out to me the most in that podcast was like, just because somebody tells you something doesn't mean it's the truth. Right. And I have not stopped thinking about that since I listened to that. Well, it's true. I mean, how many things have you been told throughout your life? You're whether it's negative or positive, right. And are those things even true about you? You go through your whole adult life and then one day you're like, that's not even who I am.
Right. And shout outs to our girlfriend Tabitha, who is also a guest on the podcast, episode 3 and 4, I believe. You said a few things that just really, each of them could take us on a tangent. But one of the things that came to mind when you were speaking is the age-old mantra that so much is given, much is expected. And I am a true believer that when you have blessings, when you have reaped the benefits of others' selflessness, you have to give it back. You got to pay it forward. And I've always been so, in awe of the blessings you have. You have a beautiful, loyal husband and marriage. You have a wonderful child. You had a career and still have a career. You have a bunch of skills. And in the grander scheme of things, like you're doing great, right? And so we have to have that balance of showing people our blessings and our greatness and our vulnerabilities and our shortcomings, because that is the most authentic we could be. No one is perfect and no one is totally bad and no one is totally good. And one of the things that I've always really valued in my friendships, which is why we're doing this podcast, these are, my people, is that I've always been able to draw from their strengths and weaknesses and always been made to feel like I could present my strengths and my weaknesses, and like it made our relationship even stronger. And so I love that you're putting more of who you are and your life and your blessings and your passions, cooking and working out. I'm glad that, because you never know who is watching that, who is taking their cues from you, who is aspiring to have what you have. And we just talked about the power of words, but the power of seeing and visualizing things. And so when it's authentic and when you actually have a message, what we put out there is really powerful. It's also powerful for us.
Well, I was just about to say, when you said that, I think it's important to note too that like one of the reasons I've been really putting myself out there more is because it terrifies me. Like it scares me so badly. Like I've always been such a very private person.
Yeah.
So even when I go to post something that I think like, oh, this is awesome to share, and I think people would find value in this, and I have somebody taught me this awesome thing, so I want to pass it on. There's that fear of, well, not so much people's opinions, but people's opinions. And
Mhm.
part of the journey that I'm on is like learning to kind of block that out, right? This is
Yeah.
my life and my experience. And
Mhm.
if I'm afraid, which we all live with fear and stuff, but like I wish that I had learned earlier in my life to sort of push through the fear,
Yeah.
because it can paralyze you. And I think we all live with that, right? But
Right.
it's like, if I'm going to post something because I feel like it will really like impact somebody and I'm really feeling great about it, and then you let your mind into it, and it's like, oh
Mhm.
man, well, who's going to perceive it this way? And then like 10 minutes later, you don't even feel that same joy
Right.
about it. And you're like, why
Right.
did I do that to myself? Like, so part of
Yeah.
this journey is also putting my blinders on a little bit, and
Yeah.
learning to push through that fear.
And I've always been the opposite. So I've always
I love
had
that.
like done too much. Right. And, now even thinking about brands and stuff, it's not that I'm not being who I am, but there are certain boxes. And so like, I want to jump online and shake my butt a little bit, but that's not, at 44, maybe not. Now, that doesn't mean I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm in the comforts of my own home, but maybe not on Instagram.
Yeah. I understand.
When I'm going to the Capitol and knocking on Senate doors, that might not be well received.
Right, that might not be the thing. Like, hey, didn't I
So
just see
yeah,
on Instagram? No, you
right,
didn't.
right. They might, yeah. So but again, it fueling ourselves, what we do to fuel ourselves, it is important. And so I think about this teaching. Actually, what my supervisor taught me this: 5% of what you retain or what you hold on to can be acquired from what you hear. And then an additional 10% of what you retain or acquire, hold on to, can be retained if you also write it down. So that's why journaling is really important. So you add about 15% when you hear and then you write it down.
Yeah.
A total of 95% of what you retain and hold on to can be acquired by you teaching, sharing,
Yeah.
saying it out loud.
Yes.
And so, to put some data on that, and that's scientific. That is all about the way your brain and your system works when you actually have to not just internalize it, keep it to
Yeah.
yourself, but you actually have to articulate it, and you're still visualizing by articulating. So I think that that's a really powerful thing. You also said this opportunity to essentially recreate or reshape who you are.
Yeah.
Don't get me to lying about Latin. My son takes Latin and Arabic, and so he can tell you what the actual Latin phrase is. But essentially, his school has a motto: uh, "Today we start again."
Yeah.
Today we
I
start
love that.
again. And for young men, that's like, you're gonna make stupid mistakes as a middle schooler. As long as they're not, life-threatening mistakes, you have an opportunity to do it over today. And
Yeah.
I think about my children when I think about that, and how the grace that children show parents. And I think about, every day I'm analyzing myself as a parent. Am I a little too Bronx for these DC, these DC boys? Am I a little too tough? Did I overreact? Did I micromanage too much? Did I jump on this cake? Did I nag too much today? I know why I did it. And it's one of the things that I'm literally obsessed with every day.
Yeah.
And every day my sons wake up as if nothing happened the day before
Yeah.
or nothing happened, and the same love, the same care, the same grace, the same joy. And they have taught me that, like, stop holding on to stuff.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
good. And I
Yeah.
try to teach them that too. Like, I am
Yes.
very intentional when I'm teaching, coaching, reprimanding my sons. I am
Yes.
intentional about hugging them afterwards,
Yeah.
coming back and countering what could have felt jittering and tough for them, and circling back around to say, hey, I meant what I said. However, I love you. And this
Yeah.
is why I'm doing it. and we're good. Give me a hug. I know you might not be good with me, but I'm good with you. Okay.
Yeah.
And especially for, I have a son who's going to be 13 actually in a week. So preteen, teens, puberty.
Oh my God.
Sometimes I have to do what we're talking
it.
about, and I need to tell him how he feels so that he can own how he feels. Like,
yeah,
you good right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now manifest goodness right now. So, yeah, I think children get sort of give us that mirror of how we're able to start again today, and I love my children for that.
Well,
yeah.
it's funny. I was thinking about when you said, we were talking about your sons earlier, and you said, even though they're not in the room with you, I don't think they are. You're still
No,
talking.
it wouldn't be this quiet. It would not be. Michael would be hanging off of this.
You said these things about them, and you said they're sensitive in a great way. Like, you're saying them just like what Tabitha said. Like, just because somebody tells you something doesn't mean it's true. Like, when you're talking about your sons are not even there, you're saying it in a way that is something that they can look in the mirror and be proud of. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jorge and I, when we talk about, anything about him, it's positive always, but it's like, we're so intentional about how we speak of him in front of him.
Yeah.
And how we speak of each other in front of him. It's like the kid, I mean, they absorb everything, and it's so important to put that, in their heads now. And because I'm somebody who I'm trying really, like, my mission now moving forward is to leave the past where it belongs. I haven't always been so great about that. I've been somebody who can ruminate for, the wrong reasons.
Me too.
I don't like that about myself. So I want to make sure that Cruz understands that, like, you don't, just because that happened, it doesn't mean anything about anything. You know what I mean? Like, you can't let people hold you to your past. Like you just said with your sons, like, okay, this happened, I meant it. But that doesn't mean for the next week I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to beat you down every time I can. I'm going to, like, you have to learn to, like, leave it behind and move forward.
And we have to role model that for our children. We can't just teach that lesson. Mm-hmm. And so, like you, I obsess over things. I have an obsessive personality, and to give us grace is part of what makes us great. We obsess over details. We obsess over our friendships. When we love something, we really love something. All those things are what has shaped a lot of our greatness. But there are some negative parts of that if you don't hone it in. And I always said, like, I've never smoked, like, even a cigarette. I've never tried a drug. I barely drink. And I've always said, because I have an addictive or an obsessive personality, and I'm self-aware about that, I would try a hard drug and love it.
Yeah.
I would love it, and I will want more of it, and I will want more of it.
I understand, girl. You ain't gotta tell
me. So, I've always been cognizant of that. Like, you might not be able to control the disease once you start it, but you can control whether you start it or not.
Yeah.
And so, it is very much like we have to role model that for our children. My youngest they're both sort of tuned into their emotions in different way. My youngest is more like us, and it will marinate for a while.
Yeah.
And you can see switches in confidence. Like, I can always tell when he's dwelling on something. And so I have to go in and be like, hey, we good, right? I have to remind him specifically.
Yeah.
Like, this is a part of your experience as a child. Like, children get yelled at, and their parents tell them what to do, and they make their parents upset, and parents get upset and nag, but everybody's been through that. I went through that with my parents. You're going through it. Like, I have to qualify it. But we have to role model that. We have to, put things in place. But that's a two-sided conversation or exchange. We have to make it a safe space for them to move on. And if we are in our body language and our words, rehashing those things and not allowing them the space to today start again, then we are not making it a safe psychological space for them to actually grow and move on. And that's just true for so many things. We want people to be free and be their authentic selves, but are we really creating a safe space for them to land their authentic selves. We see it at work all the time. We have all these companies that say we want everyone to bring their authentic self to work, and then you bring your authentic self, and people ask you,
they're like, not that authentic self.
Yeah, not that authentic. Yeah. So I've definitely
not that.
We want you to communicate. So we want you to communicate, and then I communicate, and it's like,
not
that hurts somebody's feeling. Is this like, well, what you want? Do you want me to communicate, or we want you to collaborate? We want to collaborate. Oh, okay. Well, I want to be involved in this decision then. No, I own this decision. Well, then you don't want to collaborate. So I need you to make it a psychologically safe space for me to communicate and collaborate, because now there's some cognitive dissonance. Now I feel like I should be doing one thing, but I'm physically not able to do another. And now I'm mad.
now
I'm mad. And that's my authentic self right now. I'm mad at you.
Indeed. I want to say one thing that helped me tremendously though with the rumination, because for me it would like straight up ruin certain points in my life, because I was getting to a point that I would like constantly looking back, like had I not done that I would have been in a much blah blah blah, and it's like a different version of you made that decision in your life, and that version of you is not the person that you are today. And it really helped me. I mean, I still get it like into the rumination, but really not like I once did, because I'm really trying to focus on that. Like if I had to go back and make that decision, I certainly wouldn't have made that same decision, because I'm a different person now, you know? So it's like when I find myself getting into that pattern, I'm like, hold up. That person that you were is not the person that you are, you know, like, and you have to look back at her and say, hey, you did the best with what you thought at the time, but that's not the information that we have now, and we're making different choices.
Right. But you being a different person is not that's not the fail safe. That's not like because you're now older or you're who you are now that it happens. That process of you talking to yourself and reminding you, that's a part of the skill set you need to actually make new decisions. So going through something, experiencing loss or trauma or disappointment from that something, that's just one little small step in the change, right? That's now you're cognizant of something that probably needs to change. It's all the little things that you're doing leading up to the next opportunity that you have to actually put that knowledge into action. And that's an intentional thing. That is talking to yourself, surrounding yourself with things that stimulate the new behaviors and the new change, and then being able to recognize the opportunity when it comes back up. And then the last thing, which is the most important thing, is having the strength and the knowledge to actually do the opposite.
Yes.
Like it's not just that you got older and that you know what you're not supposed to do. It's that power to recognize when you see it again, and that strength to do it differently.
Yes.
We experience that in life. We experience that in relationships. How many times, when you were single, did you say, why am I dating the same? Why am I going through the same thing again and again and again? Right? It's the same thing with rearing children. It's the same thing at the job. Why do I keep landing jobs I'm not happy with? It's the age-old definition of insanity, right? And the reason that you could go through the same thing and expect a different outcome is because you haven't flipped that switch at the end of that process, which is recognize it and make that concerted effort to change the behavior. So
how important. I mean, you said it perfectly. You're absolutely correct too. It's like you can do all this and then you keep doing the same thing, and it's like you're not learning anything, and that's when you really understand that you're growing, when you are faced with the same thing and you're like, I'm scared, but I can't do that again, But what are your thoughts and opinions on how important is your circle?
Ooh. So the circle is big, right? Because in this process, is the scientist Lewin who has this a model or this philosophy. It's called the freezing model, which is when you're going through change, you essentially have to unfreeze who you are. And now that you're unfrozen, you learn the new things. And then once you have the new knowledge and the new behaviors, you freeze. Okay. And now you are who you are. And so when we go through this unfreezing, this understanding of what led us to the unfavorable outcome, when we unfreeze, we have to start putting things that we are willing to be frozen in our new state. So if you fill your new state with the same old stuff, you're going to be freezing the old stuff and now applying the old stuff, right? And so your circle is key. We've said it a million times already on this show about the power of what you hear, what you say,
definitely.
what you see, who you see. All of that plays into behavior. And I'm studying now in my organizational leadership classes this idea of knowing, being, doing. You become something by knowing, being, doing. And so the knowledge, understanding where you were and where you want to be, and then truly being intentional about internalizing that, make connections to your core values and your aspirations, make a connection between your knowledge and the person that you want to be, and then do the things that feed that, so that you're always reinforcing this idea of knowing, being, doing. And of course, that's changing as you learn new things and as you evolve as a person. And so your circle of friends and family and their energies that they feed into you, understand how powerful that is. If you are on a path to peace and serenity, but you have someone that triggers you into anger and negativity, then you're opposite of what you want to be, right? If you someone used to tell me, you don't put dirty clothes on a clean body. You don't brush a clean head with a dirty brush. It's the same thing. It's the same concept. Yeah.
I think
the people you surround yourself. Yeah, the people you surround yourself with are key. Which, like, this show is sort of the living, breathing organism of that. It's like, I want to put on this, like, my circle. I feel like I have such an amazing circle of men and women, and some non-binaries too. I have such a great circle of friends. But anyway, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I was actually, I'm very curious how you're like choosing your guests. But I just wanted to say one really quick thing about the circle thing, because it goes back to your question, what we talked about earlier of like my uptick in social. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of it too, is like, I'm like, I have like this new world that I'm into, right? Mm-hmm. I also want to ask you about your school. Let me write all this stuff down.
Yeah, right. You know what? I don't want to walk away. You constantly say stuff that makes me, so I have to, I'm working my brain skills now.
I got two things down here. We'll get to those as soon as I'm done. You tell me and I'll just write them. Okay. But the social thing is like same sort of thing, right? Like I have all these new interests or old interests that I'm really trying to, like, I'm really into whatever. And it's like, on social, you can find some communities. So even if you don't, I'm home with the baby or doing that, like, even if you don't like physically have those circles, you still have a way to put yourself in the rooms, of the people that are doing things. So like, with my running or my powerlifting, like whatever it may be, there's always a way for you to kind of insert yourself in the community. And what's really important, I think, like, and it has been for me, is like learning like new language, hearing people talk about the things that like pique my interest and I want to learn more about. But it's like, where do you find these communities? How do you seek out these people? Like, especially when you're at a certain age and maybe you're not hanging out at places you used to hang out at. It's like,
right.
You can find these communities on social, which has been like a big thing for me. And it's been very helpful for me to feel like I can like grow in my interests, which has been a really awesome thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, like you said, I don't hang out much and I'm not thirsty. So that's like, a setup for failure. If you don't have some, sort of already embedded relationships. And that's exactly it. I have, one of the blessings of my life is that I was encouraged to live life and explore new new opportunities and new locations. And along every step of the way, I was blessed with the gift of friendship. And I'm talking about, I'm going to have a guest on my show who is one of my elementary school
I
friends from
love that.
second grade. When I was on Facebook, I was friends with my second and third grade teacher. Like, I have had the blessing of relationships and friendships. And so from elementary school to middle school to high school to college and now grad school at work, I have been able to truly get to know some pretty incredible people who have life stories that I've
Yeah.
always found to be intriguing and motivational, who have careers that I've been like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
that's great. And most importantly, whose conversations just make me a smarter or more in tune person. And so I pick my guests, and the sort of the premise of this show is to share conversations that I would naturally and normally have with my friends, like my real friends, or
Yeah.
people who I spend genuine time with, to share that with a greater audience. So my friends have picked me, and now I have picked them for
That's
this
so
podcast.
cool.
And
I
it's
love that.
also a really great excuse for me to catch up with friends that I don't normally catch up with.
Absolutely.
So like you and I have spoke more frequently in these last 2 months based off of this
Yeah.
than we have, only because we have been intentional about doing this. So that's another sort of like side advantage or benefit, is that this is a opportunity for me to connect with my friends on a more regular basis. So yeah,
I
that's
love
what
that.
happens.
I've learned, I have really enjoyed the episodes, and I've like really, like I said, Tabitha, shout out to her again, like that one little line, right? Like, it's like, that would be the goal though, right? When you interact with anybody, like they say, when you read a book, there's only like one line that you walk away from that book and like remembering. It's like, if you could have your guests walk away with one thing that sits in their brain that causes a spark for like conversation, or causes them to like really think about things in a new way. I mean, how amazing to have that platform and the circle, to do that. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. And that comment is so Tabitha now. Tabitha wasn't always like that. She kind of talked about it. Like, I was one of the people when I first met her, was like, why are you believing everything you hear? And I think that's the cynical New Yorker in me. Shout outs to my New Yorkers. Only New Yorkers can probably truly understand what I'm about to say, is that like we have this built-in cynicism to us where we kind of call BS from a mile away, and we're kind of like, you gotta show me. And so I think I inherently have that, but just in understanding people and understanding motives and understanding how everyone's just trying to make sense of their own situation. And I'm always like, you said that. So that was one of the things that kind of bound us in the beginning, is because she kind of came into a situation being told a lot of stuff. And I was like, I'm gonna give you a year, because I don't like new friends. So I have so many great friends. I generally am skeptical of new friends. I'm like, let them get through some tough times. Let them live life a little bit, experience some of what we're talking about, is them learning not to believe everything you hear. And then once they go through some trials and tribulations, they're battle tested enough to be my friend or to communicate with me.
Sure.
And she and I definitely went through that, where I was like, she's drinking that Kool-Aid. Let me let her drink that Kool-Aid for a little bit. And then I'm going to create a safe space for when she's ready to keep it real. She knows she can come here. And that's exactly what happened. And the only reason it happened in that direction is because I was already in the situation. I'm sure like if I was stepping into like her situation, she would have been that way for me. But because I already was hip to game, I gave her the space, but I sent signals to her many times along the way, like, when you're ready, I'm right here, girl. And once she was ready, it was like a bond, an unbreakable bond. So
That's cool. That's funny. One thing, I have this written down, and I have to ask you before we get way off topic, but I'm interested because how did you decide to go back to school?
Ooh, girl.
I need to know that, because it seems like something you're really like, we've talked a lot. You've referenced the school and your program a lot in the last episode and in the one for me. And I think you get to a certain age and you think maybe that's not like a path for you anymore. And I'm really interested to hear what drove you to that and like how you feel going back to school now as opposed to when, you were in your younger years.
Wow, what a great part one. I always loved having my girl Lisa. I mean, she brings out the best in me. She's one of the people who I am blessed to have reaffirming all the best in me. And holding that mirror up to me to advise me if I need to, and just, remind me of all the things that build me up. And so that's one of the key takeaways from the show. There's power in the things that you hear, see, and do. So it's imperative that all of us surround ourselves with people, places, and things that build us up, that stretch us toward greatness, as opposed to away and distract us, that reaffirm the best in who we are today. We're always changing, we're always evolving. So it's imperative that the friends we keep and the lessons that we learn and the things we hear, see, and do, they match who we are today. And so, Lisa is sort of the living embodiment of that for me. Another key takeaway is the concept of knowing, being, and doing, and how change requires that three-pronged approach of not only having the knowledge of what happened, what did we learn, what could we do, what will we do, but it's actually internalizing that and understanding the repercussions when we don't change, or how we felt when we did the previous thing or were the previous self. And then the third prong, which is actually doing. And so we gave the example of, dating the same type of person. And so it's one thing to know how you felt and in that moment to know this is not right. But then when you're able to recognize the scenario when it's happening real time and apply those lessons and practice some of the things and the skills that you've learned, that's where change happens. So we can't rest on just knowing and reflecting. We have to get our reps in, and we have to really hone and practice those new behaviors and freeze ourselves into the people that we want to be as opposed to the people that we once were. And last but not least, we said today we start again. The actual Latin phrase is always we begin again. And so not just today, in every moment, we're evolving and changing. And the always we begin again phrase is it's an exhibition of grace that we have to give to ourselves and ultimately give to other people, to know that we always have an opportunity to correct old wrongs, or to further who we are, or grow, or teach, and all those things. Always we begin again. Our children teach us that with the unfettered love that they give us despite mistakes we make as parents, right? And I'm sure our parents did that for us when we were children as well. So I never even thought about that. And we didn't talk about that in the show, but that just came to mind. So what I took from that is it's also never too late to lean into your new passions, explore new relationships, explore new aspects of yourself. Always we begin again. There's going to be so much more in part 2. So I need you all to, internalize what we did in part 1. Watch it again, share it with all your friends. Of course, you know the drill. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And I want you to tune in next week, same time, for part 2, where we get into deeper concepts of recognizing blessings, paying it forward, the impact of higher education, and so much more. Thank you again for tuning in today. This is Live, Learn, and Exercise. And you know the drill. Before we go, let's cover the legal stuff, and I'll see you next time. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host or affiliate content providers. The information shared is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, including but not limited to medical, psychological, or coaching services. Listeners are encouraged to consult with their qualified practitioners for guidance tailored to their personal needs and circumstances.